And I think that without even knowing it, part of the issue is that I feel like I have to defend myself against him. Do I? No.
No.
But that's how I feel. And I, without even being intentional about it, I put that on our relationship. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that I need to work on.
Yep.
And I think it stems from probably just never discussing like our past, never, talking about what happened, never really forgiving each other. We brushed everything under a rug and never, got into the nitty gritty of what happened.
Of all of it.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm sure there's still triggers that
100%
kind of set you off in a sense.
and it can be something so silly, like he'll text me about something and I read it as in like him trying to tell me what to do. And Dan knows I love Dan more than anything, but I still don't want to be told what to do. Like
yeah.
And it's like an instant like, we gonna go.
Right.
Like,
ting, ting.
Welcome to The Village, the heartwarming and insightful podcast where two incredible moms come together to share their journey of navigating life, love, and the intricate art of blending families. Join us as we dive into the joys, challenges, and unique experiences that arise when two families become one. Hosted by Kayla.
That's me. And hosted by Megan.
That's me.
The Village offers a genuine and relatable space where we share our personal stories, triumphs, and lessons learned on the path of creating a harmonious and loving blended family. Whether you're a stepmom,
Bonus mom,
a birth mom, or simply someone interested in the beautiful chaos of family dynamics, this podcast is for you.
Each episode is a heartfelt conversation that covers a wide range of topics, from the everyday moments that bring laughter and tears to the more complex discussions surrounding co-parenting, step-sibling relationships, and building a strong foundation of love and trust. We openly explore the challenges we've faced, the strategies we've employed, and the unexpected joys that have come our way.
The Village isn't just about blending families, it's about the power of friendship, support, and sharing the journey with someone who understands. Tune in as we swap stories, offer practical advice, and invite experts to weigh in on subjects like effective communication, managing expectations, and nurturing connections in a modern blended family.
Whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a sense of community, The Village is here to remind you that you're never alone on this incredible journey. Subscribe now to join our community of fellow moms and let's mom together through the ups and downs, creating a tapestry of love and unity one episode at a time.
I mean, after all, it takes a village.
Oh yeah, and by the way, her ex-husband is my current husband.
hello everybody. Thanks for joining us again.
Yes. Happy April. I hope your houses are all squeaky clean now because you guys have been so busy cleaning.
When does spring end, actually? So your spring cleaning should be done pretty soon because
Summer's
is May
about
summer?
to be here. I think April, May is spring.
Yeah.
June, July is summer. And for Florida, August
I was gonna say.
and September. Or summer.
Sometimes October.
Sometimes October.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, so we hope y'all are having a great April. We wanted to, we've touched base on a few of these, but we wanted to kind of bring your attention to the different types of parenting styles that are out there. We've done a lot of research on this topic, and we just felt that it'd be educational for you guys. I know it was educational for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be honest, I feel like up until like when I stumbled upon that parallel parenting thing, like I don't know, months ago, I had no idea there were like names for, you know what I mean? These styles of parenting after divorce. So that was interesting to me, and I'm like, they've named all these things.
They have a name.
Yeah. So I think that was really interesting for me, personally. And kind of seeing different sides of parenting when you're married, when you're not married. So we're going to just dive in and give you guys some details about the parenting styles and good things and bad things about them and
why we chose what we
opinions.
chose on them. And maybe, unfortunately, you might be going through a separation or a divorce and you're not really sure what your parenting plan is going to look like. We hope that maybe this can give you some ideas and some options into what your relationship will look like with your ex-partner.
Yeah. So we're going to start out with like regular married people.
The good old married folks.
Good old married people parenting. It's funny, I think like pretty much anyone who's married could have a different kind of parenting.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And like even some of these kind of parentings that we see, like the different, you could have it within your relationship, right?
Yeah. For sure.
So how do you feel like you, like from the details we know, how do you feel like you and Steven co-parent? Or parent.
I was like, wait, we co-parent?
Sorry,
parent. So Steven and I are still learning that, I think. And Steven is learning it more so because Camden is his first child. So Steven's technically only been a parent for 3 years. Whereas I have been a parent for, 11 years. And so I've gone through the terrible twos and the trying threes and been there, done that. And I was actually telling Megan earlier how much more patient I am with Camden now. Versus when Landon was 3. Camden earlier knocked the phone over when we were doing something. And if it was Landon, I probably would have kind of yelled at him.
Yeah.
Camden, all I could do was laugh. Like, and it's such a disadvantage to older children that are the oldest because the more kids I have, the less stressed I am.
Well, I wonder if it's too, like, just an exhaustion thing, too.
It is. Yeah. You throw your hands up and you're like, listen, we're just surviving.
We're gonna choose our battles.
Yes. Yeah. So I consider myself a little strict and not so much. As long as you're being respectful, that is my biggest thing. And you don't lie to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I think those are my 2 boundaries that we're crossing a line.
Yeah.
I am working on my patience. I am not the most patient person. But Steven and I are a good team in the aspect of, because Landon has ADHD, one of us will snap on him and the other one will yell out our code word of like, chill out. Like, this was not his intent. Like, and the older they get, the more I've become a parent, the more I'm learning their personalities and things of that sort. And so it's just kind of one of those things that I learn. I'm a Southern gal, so I'm a big yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, please and thank you, hold the door, all of those. I will honestly, and not get on to, but if like we're at a restaurant and Landon didn't hold a door, or Lily didn't hold a door for somebody at Texas Roadhouse, I'm like, Lily, next time you need to keep in mind da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not so much scolding, but just like reminding.
Yeah, and I think it's just about being polite. It's
what about
interesting,
you?
Though. I don't know. So,
see, we don't know.
Yeah, I'm processing. I'll be honest with you guys. So when Dan and I first started dating and like obviously incorporated the kids all together, Dan's more strict than I am in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I think I'm learning as I get older. I'm in my 30s now. Like, we're all a result of like our parenting, right? Like, we parent the way we do because of XYZ.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I grew up in an age, and I'm sure you did too, where like we didn't have an opinion.
Oh,
and so we've talked about this, like we weren't allowed to speak our opinion. And so as a girl who's always been very people pleasing, I always shied away from conflict. Like, I never wanted Braden and Emma to not feel like they could have an opinion.
Right.
So I've been trying, I feel like decently doing a good job. Emma's kind of a firecracker in life, which I like, but parenting has been tough. I want them to know that they can have an opinion, but respectfully have an opinion. And I think that's hard for a kid to learn, because there's like they want to push a boundary. They want to put, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and it's kind of like they tiptoe on that boundary, and you're like, you give them the little eyeball, you know? And so they're like, oh, let me back it up. Yeah. I think when Dan and I first started dating, we moved in together and all that stuff, I was a little more lax on certain things because I felt like I think I was trying to make up for what the kids were missing out on, not having Jeremy around. And I think I've learned to not do that, because I think in the long run it will harm them. You know what I mean? Not having boundaries, and they were never bad kids or never disrespectful in any sense, but more so just maybe just being too lenient in certain areas. Sure. You know what I mean? And then, so, we both had to find a balance. Yeah. Dan was always like disciplinarian. I think before we were together, he spanked and stuff like that. Yeah. I've never been a spanking mom. So he had to learn, like, that's not something I'm going to budge on. Right. So we have to meet in the middle of like another kind of punishment. Sure. Now don't get me wrong. When the kids were little, we popped them on the hand and patted them on the butt, those kind of things. But I felt like at a certain age, like, that wasn't an appropriate discipline.
My last spanking was when Landon was like, that didn't hurt. And I'm like, well,
we're done with that. Yeah. So like, we 100% had to learn each other's do's and don'ts, and like where where we can say, okay, I hear what you're saying on this, or hey, I'm not going to budge in that area.
Yeah.
And find like a respectful middle ground for parenting.
That's where it's kind of tough for Steven and I, because I'm the 11-year, you know, veteran over here, and Steven is still the new parent. So whereas I might be a little bit more patient and he might not be. He's not. And it's no fault to him. He's just trying to learn. I was the same way when Landon was 3 and Lily was 3. And so having those communication points where like, hey, I think you might have been a little too like, or maybe next time handle it this way, or just kind of encouraging each other. Yeah. And then I am not afraid to apologize. Yeah. So if because my patience is very thin, if I do snap and it was, and it was 1,000%, and I could probably see Steven being like, whoa. Then I will go back to the kids. I never got an apology from like parents. And I think that speaks volume to our relationship, and just like, or like maybe even if you don't say sorry, but just still kind of rekindling and discussing that in a more healthier setting, or not at the restaurant, or without, and I want to say without the other parent, but just sometimes like I can one-on-one. Yes. Yeah. Or like, you know, Steven will go and be like, hey man, like I didn't want to yell at you today. Like, I'm sorry. Like, who are you beating in Fortnite right now? You know, and just kind of lighten that up a little bit. But no, at the end of the day, like, you did deserve to get scolded. Yeah. Or like, you know, but it came from love. It came from, you know, encouragement. And so
it's tough, like finding those balances of like, because like, for example, like Braden's a super easy kid. Emma, like I said, she's always been a little fiery. And I don't want to dull that fire. I don't want her to go into this world and think that she can't be who she is, or she can't speak her mind, or she can't stand up for herself. But I want her to learn, like you said, like in the South, like you say yes, ma'am. You know, there's certain things that you do. And as your mother or your father or an adult figure, like there's respect that has to be maintained. And I don't want to say know your place, but like know your place.
But it's a respect, know your place.
100%.
You know, it's 100%. Not like, you know.
And there's a time and a place for like, if I said something wrong, please tell me I said something wrong. But like maybe not in that moment. Maybe it's like coming back later and being like, hey mom, you said this and this is, you know what I mean?
It's funny, Landon and I had this conversation the other day. Landon kind of copped an attitude because he was losing in kickball. Yeah. And I kind of yelled at him, but then later I went back and we talked about it, and so Landon and I are going to work on, in that moment,
not having like a heated argument,
but still like, hey buddy, you know, your tone is getting a little excessive. What is wrong? Is something unfair? What suggestion do you, like, you know, and just kind of talk through it. Steven does not think that's the best thing. Steven says he's a sore loser, which he is. Don't get me wrong on that one. Landon is a very sore loser, but
he's gotten a lot. Well, he hasn't been playing as much stuff around the house, but his attitude has been a lot.
It was a game of kickball
lately. Yeah, no, he is a sore loser when it comes to that stuff.
So, but yeah,
you and Dan are very competitive, though.
We are. He gets it.
You guys are very competitive.
So yeah, but yeah, I think parenting, you still have to co-parent
100%
with that other parent.
Yeah, and I think it complicates things in a different level. Like if you are co-parenting, you probably know this with your spouse. Like having kids that aren't from that other person, I think adds a different layer of like complication in a way. Yes, like Dan had to learn Braden and Emma as a kid.
Steven had to learn
Landon and Lily. And like I feel like there's like growth within like different age ranges. Like I feel like Lily was so little when we started dating. She was like 3 maybe. Yes. So she was a baby. Like well, in her brain, like I've always been here in a sense.
That's what I was telling somebody that the other day. They were like, how old were the kids? And I'm like, honestly, like Landon used to question, like, why did you guys get a divorce? And da-da-da-da-da. Lily's just like, cool, it's Sunday. Going to my dad's.
Peace out.
Going to my mom's. Like, that's all Lily has ever known.
100%. You know? But you can see, like, the difference of just their personalities, too. Yeah. Because, like, I expected Emma, and I've said this before, I expected Emma to be the one that had all the questions. Or no, I'm sorry. I expected Braden to be the one that had all the questions because he was older. He was, 5'2". He never really had questions. He's a go with the flow kind of kid. Now Emma, on the other hand, wanted like documentation of what happened.
I need every detail to the whole thing.
So it's just, that's just how they are. Yeah. Like Emma, and I think Emma and Landon are very similar even now. So it's like
100%.
Different. And we tell them, I'm like, if you guys could get on the same page, you guys could be, well, they could freaking like take over the world probably because
Yeah.
They're so similar. And when they get along great, and they think alike, but they're at the age right now of annoying each other. So
we have a blackmail photo that Megan sent the other day that we have proof that they did like each other at one point.
They're holding hands and everything.
So but cute. Yeah, I think to the point of just parenting in general, like you still have to consider your spouse at all times, really. You know, whether you are separated, divorced, or still together, you have to consider that other person.
Well, 100%. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think you have to find like a happy medium sometimes. You're not always going to be able to agree.
No.
But like you have to meet in the middle. Like, and I think that everybody has a thing that they're not going to budge on. Yeah. Right. And you have to, I guess at some point just say, okay, like, I love you enough. I respect you enough. Like, this is not going to be a hill I'm going to die on today.
That's to the point of like Landon the other day. Like I told Steven, like, because Landon asked me to talk to Steven.
Oh.
And so I
about what happened.
And so I said, you know, we dropped them off at your house and I talked to Steven and I was just like, hey, like Landon asked me to talk to you. You know, he hopes that we don't snap at him in a public setting anymore. And Steven's like, I'm not doing that. When he's being a sore loser, he's being a sore loser, and I'm going to call him out on it every single time. He's been like this his whole, and I'm like, okay, I'll handle it.
I'll do it from now on.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say too that in that situation, I know how, and I was telling Landon this the other day because there was a girl he liked at school. This was a while back. I think Valentine's Day-ish maybe.
Okay.
And he was saying, Emma was telling him, like, don't ask her in front of everybody or she'll say no because she'll be embarrassed. And Landon's like, I don't think that's true. I just think you're saying that. And I was like, Landon, I said, I'm going to be honest with you, baby. I was one of those girls.
Yeah.
If you put me in the spotlight, I'm doing whatever I need to do to like get out of there, get away from the attention. So like in that situation, like if you're trying to have a conversation with me and everyone's around us or observing it, I'm not going to hear a word you're saying.
And I think that
because I'm having a panic attack.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I can understand 100%, and I can understand that. Like that's just how I am. Like I'm a private person when it comes to a lot of things. So like 100%, am I willing to own up to my shortcomings? Yes. Am I going to do it in front of 100 people? No. Nah.
Y'all are lucky I get her on camera for y'all every other week.
1,000%.
So we're gonna go to the next topic.
Yes.
This one's a little bit more serious. We're kind of starting with like what we are, starting in that negative aspect and kind of worst case scenario, and then we're gonna lighten it up a little bit for you guys.
Well, it's kind of middle. We're gonna be middle.
Yeah, we're gonna be middle.
We're gonna be middle first. So we've touched on this briefly before. I found it in the past, parallel parenting, which I found really interesting.
Yes.
So it's basically, to sum it up, when the mom has the kid, the mom does what the mom wants, and when the dad has a kid, the dad does what the dad wants. There's no communication other than like necessity, basically. Each house has their own rules.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What were like I know we had talked, there was a stat you had found.
So yeah, so research shows, like I said, we did a lot of research on this one for you guys. Research shows that about 50% of couples do this. That they still do this.
Which makes complete sense, honestly.
It does, but I think it's because sad, I'm so used to how we parent.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's sad. And we'll get into just the kind of the sadness of it. And I know that's just kind of my empathy speaking, but just like the fact of like, this parallel parenting just used to be the norm.
Yeah.
That's how it's kind of always
anybody
is.
who got divorced, this is what they did. They were parallel parenting. So the other thing I thought was interesting is they called it a business arrangement. So this is like you take emotion out of it, you take all of that out of it, and it's literally like your kid is a business arrangement.
Yeah, and I think this is to the fact of like maybe if you meet in a public place to drop off your children, and like you don't even get out of your car. Yeah. Like little Johnny is walking from your parked car here and gets into mom or dad's parked car here. Yep. That's it. Like there's no communication, there's no nothing. Like this is where we'll meet outside the Winn-Dixie at 6:00 every Tuesday. Like that's how it is from the time you all got your divorce, and from there on out, you better be there at 6:00. Because if not, you're probably gonna get an email.
Well, and I think the reason, I'm like thinking as you're talking, so Jeremy and I, Brayden, Emma's dad and I, we don't communicate well. We never have. It's just kind of what it is.
It is what it is.
We're working on it. Yeah. We are working on it. He recently reached out to me and was like, hey, I'd really like for us to like communicate more on things versus me talking to Fran, which I'm glad. I think we do need to communicate better. We're older now. We should be able to communicate and have conversation. but at the end of the day, there's a reason that you guys got divorced, right? So
yeah,
it's understandable that you just want to like wash your hands of that person and here, take little Susie and I'll see you on Tuesday, because you don't want to have those heated conversations or discussions or differences of opinions. You don't want to ask for permission to do something with, you know, your child. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
so, like, those are going to be things that, you know, are going to cause problems. And it's actually funny. Today I was talking to Dan about Jeremy and some of our things that still bother me.
Sure.
And I think that without even knowing it, part of the issue is that I feel like I have to defend myself against him. Do I? No.
No.
But that's how I feel. And I, you know, without even being intentional about it, I put that on our relationship. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that I need to work on.
Yep.
And I think it stems from probably just never discussing like our past, never, you know, talking about what happened, never really forgiving each other. You know, we brushed everything under a rug and never, you know, got into the nitty gritty of what happened.
Of all of it.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm sure there's still triggers that
100%
kind of set you off in a sense.
and it can be something so silly. Like he'll text me about something and I read it as in like him trying to tell me what to do. And Dan knows I love Dan more than anything, but I still don't want to be told what to do. Like, and it's like an instant like, we gotta go.
Right.
Like, it literally. And I don't know why I'm like that, but I am. I don't want you to tell me what to do. And I think it's a defense mechanism in a sense.
And we wonder where Emma gets it from.
Yeah, I don't know. Dan tells me all the time that she's just like me. And she's fiery than I am. I'm not fiery like she is, but she definitely is.
She's
is
your
a lot
inner
like me.
you, like who you wish you could be.
Yeah, literally.
That's awesome.
She's spicy me.
So parallel parenting, as we talked about, is minimal interaction.
Yep.
So in our research, these were the ways that they did communicate. It wasn't how we're talking here now. There was email communication. So to Megan's point of just that like business interaction.
Yep. Here's the details.
Yep.
Here's what you need to know. Boom.
Respectfully, comma,
yours.
Yeah, parent. And then also we did talk on another episode about a few monitoring applications that I'm sure if you're going through a divorce at the time, your attorney can request those, or you can just like watch our other episode where we talked about it, and then
use that app.
You can use that app and let us know how it works, and so you can be like, oh yeah, The Village helped me get that one. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's so great.
Thank you.
But yeah, so pretty much for that type of communication, it does it. It, you know, states the facts. It's monitored. It's the proof is in the pudding, and God forbid if anyone is coming from like an abusive relationship or
it documents all of that information. Yeah,
definitely. And so that way you just kind of have that proof of this is how it went down. This was my email, their email, etc. And that way while you're going through that divorce or custody battle or whatever that case may be, you kind of just have all those documents.
And I feel like at the end of the day, like for parallel parenting to work, it almost has to be like you realize the other parent's not necessarily a bad parent. They might do things differently than you. But like, you know, your kid's safe with them. You know that they'll get their homework done. You know, they'll get to school, you know, this or that. So you just do your thing and they do their thing and, you know.
So in our research, though, it did talk about how this might not be the healthiest option for the children, whatever your situation may be, because they have to learn these rules at one house and then relearn these rules at a different house.
Yeah.
And then they're accustomed to the way it is at mom's. I don't have to
and then they have to just
wash I don't have to put my dish in the sink after I eat. But then at dad's I do. And so, you know, I think as a village member, I don't think this is one that we recommend unless it is worst case scenario. And that's just kind of how it has to be.
Yeah.
But I know that from here at the village, we look for the children and they are the forefront of whatever situation that you might be a part of.
Yeah. Well, and do you remember that we had talked about once, and I think this goes into it, like when parents don't get along, like that child is a combination of both parents. And like if mom doesn't like dad and dad doesn't like mom, that kid could be like, oh, well, what's wrong with me? Because I'm both of them.
Yeah, and you're putting the kid in that awkward predicament of like, you hearing, you know, them hearing you bash their other parent and then they have to go back. It just causes so much conflict.
Well, and I know I saw like it said, and I think parallel parenting, and then one of the others we're going to talk about later on, they have like higher percentages, and I don't have them off the top of my head, but higher percentage of anxiety and depression in kids because of like the situation they're having to live in.
Dealing with that.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you can and you are a follower, we ask that you try not to parallel parent, or maybe not to that extent of the definition of parallel parenting. Anyways, I won't go into that one. So which leads us to our third way of co-parenting, and this is kind of a step above parallel parenting, but maybe not like, again, the best case scenario. There is 2 types of co-parenting, and this one is conflicted co-parenting.
Correct. So conflicted is worst case scenario. So this one's like, you guys don't get along at all, you fight a lot, you argue, pretty much just all disagreement all the time.
Yeah.
So this is like worst case scenario. So if you kind of want to organize, we got like our version of co-parenting.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario. I guess next would be like our parallel parenting, right? Or is it the...
I would say, if I'm going to rate them,
Yeah.
Our kind of co-parenting, conflict parenting, because, and we'll get into it, fill in the blank there, and then parallel parenting, because parallel parenting, y'all have kind of washed your hands clean of this man's blood, and you're like, listen,
I'm done with you.
For the sake of the child and my sanity.
So you think that if people are arguing, there's still like hope? Because conflicted is like when they're like at each other's throats.
Yes, because, and I'll say, this is my opinion on it, because the child is seeing all of that argument, all of that disagreement, all of that, active conflict. Whereas parallel parenting, the kid knows mom and dad don't like each other.
Yeah.
This sucks. I gotta go to my mom's house. This stinks. I gotta go to my dad's house. But I'm not having to see that conflict. When conflict co-parenting happens, that child is probably on the other line or sitting in the back seat while mom is cussing out dad.
So you're saying that the conflicted is worse than parallel?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I think. I just misunderstood you. Yes? Okay.
My bad. It's a lot. I told you I had to research a lot of things, okay?
I was like, wait a second. I think we're getting our wires
conflicted co-parenting.
Worst case.
Worst case.
Correct.
Maybe you guys should parallel co-host.
Apparently. Okay, we're going to restart this sentence over. Worst case scenario, worst co-parenting, conflicted.
Yes.
So, like you said.
We're conflicted, obviously.
We're conflicted. So, the kids are hearing the arguing, they're hearing the disagreements. And I thought this was interesting. One of the things we said, they were like, you might as well just have stayed together at this point. Because... You got divorced, right, to like try to save your child from this. They're still saying it.
Yes.
But I feel like this is probably on the next level worse because you guys aren't living together.
Nope.
You're still having to share custody.
Yep.
But they're just hearing you guys hate each other every day.
Yeah, and bash each other, and you might be trying to co-parent, but obviously it's not working.
Yeah.
So let's either figure it out or let's not, and let's go to parallel parenting.
I'm going to say next step, parallel.
Yes.
Because email each other, guys.
Yeah, email. Don't argue in the Winn-Dixie parking lot when you're dropping off little Johnny. Yes. Send an email. But I think to me, the kid gets the blunt of this confliction.
Correct.
And so, maybe...
Do you feel like there was ever a point in your all's relationship y'all were in that conflicted? I know you said that Landon and Lily never experienced it, but like between you and Dan.
No, Dan and I were more of that parallel in the beginning.
Yeah.
I would either punish for whatever, and Dan would be like, okay, whatever. So then I'd have to finish the punishment with the week. So we were more parallel than we were conflicted.
I don't think we were ever conflicted either.
Any argument we had, I never had. Like, I would step away. I don't know what Dan would. Dan probably pace. Let's be honest.
He paces. Yes.
But I would probably step out and separate myself from the kids and this, that, and the other. But we were more parallel than conflicted.
Yeah.
But
luckily, I don't feel like we've ever really. I feel like there's been moments of conflict, but never like an ongoing.
Well, there's moments of conflict when you're married.
Facts, yeah.
So conflicted co-parenting is where you're trying and it's just not working.
So basically, to wrap it up, I think this one, it's pretty self-explanatory. you're arguing all the time, and the kids are getting the blunt of the negative experience.
Yeah.
So it's the worst possible case scenario. And then I think next one is...
I feel like, hold on, my brain just totally went to like, have you ever seen like on Animal Planet where they like rate the animals, like the most dangerous ones?
Yeah.
Like, conflicted parenting has now moved up on the list.
Yes.
Over
we need a little bar right here,
right?
David, with a
to just like
bar graph.
A bar graph. Yes.
So conflicted, worst, and then I think between, I guess like a step below what we do, or maybe could be in hand with us, but this is cooperative co-parenting. So
cooperative parenting requires a lot of work.
Yes.
I will say that. And so a lot of planning goes into cooperative co-parenting. A lot of discussion goes into cooperative co-parenting.
A lot of growth.
A lot of growth goes into cooperative co-parenting. And cooperative co-parenting is kind of how Megan and I, I should say like Dan and I, and Megan and Steven, how we all cooperative co-parent together. Whereas like it's not just Dan and I's decision. It's Dan and Megan's decision on what school they go to. It's Steven and I's decision on, we're a team, and we're not just a Kayla and Steven team or a Dan and Megan team. We're the Fantastic Four.
Literally.
And we make the decisions together.
100%. Yeah, and I feel like it's... Recently we discussed like if they weren't going to go to the school they went to now forever, like what would our backup plan be? Because at the end of the day we want them all to be together at school. It makes all of our lives easier. So it's not, I'm not saying it's not easier having 4 different adults and 4 different opinions.
No.
But it is easier in the sense of like we're all deciding, we're all compromising. Like, and I don't think any of us are so like left field that it's like
no,
but
well, like, and I think I'll even bring up a point, and this is kind of a personal matter, to the fact of like Steven and I are about to have 3 kids at a private school. That's gonna be a lot of money. I remember like discussing my concerns with Megan. Megan's like, we'll help you in any way that we need to, like to, if it's to help towards the payments or whatever the case may be. Like, it's just a lot of negotiation and a lot of encouragement to just help each other out. Like,
well, and for me, like, I feel like, so you were in private school your whole life. Landon and Lily have been in private school their whole life. Braden and Emma are newer to it, but it's been 4 years that they've been in private school, right? And it's like, you don't want to make the wrong decision for them. So it's almost like like, okay, all 4 of us, we can figure this out. We can put our brains together and either A, find a good solution, backup plan, or B, we figure out how to make this work. And so, which is, I think, also like beneficial, because like I'm a worrier, you're a worrier. It's like, okay, we need to figure out how to do this.
We need plan A, B, C, and D just in case.
Literally.
But I think it's also considering, back to that point of just like, it's not, when it comes to Landon and Lily, it's not just a Dan and I decision. Like, Megan's had to take Lily to the dentist earlier today. Lily was going to have another dentist appointment. Steven was going to offer to take her if need be. Like, it's just... I think Dan had a job to go to or whatever, and Steven's like, well, I mean, I can take her, like, and so it's just, really kind of sitting down and kind of bonding. I think that's kind of how it really started, too, other than, like, us having drinks at a local bar. But, like, drop-off and pickups were more conversational. Not just, like, high five, cool hug, see you later. Like, it was like... Basketball season is on. I think every time you guys have dropped them off, Dan and Steven are watching the basketball game.
100%.
Like, and so Megan and I are like, well, let's pop on a bottle of wine. Let's do something. Like, we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, Sundays haven't become drop-off day. They become hangout day.
Right.
Like, we'll watch some football. We'll have a glass of wine. 3 hours later, we should probably go home.
head home.
Yeah.
So, it's just, kind of, if you're not in, like, an abusive relationship, or if you guys can get along, like, mutual respect... I would really encourage it, like, cooperative co-parenting. Like, and it can start little with, like, maybe you and your girlfriend or you and your boyfriend are like, hey, like, I really want to try to do what Megan and Kayla are talking about because they have such an amazing podcast. And when we drop, little Johnny off at their dad's house this week.
Let's have a pizza.
Let's have lunch together. And just, have that, have girlfriend meet your boyfriend or boy. I don't know how that all would go, but have partners meet partners and, it will do so much benefit for the child as well. To be able to say that they've gone through whatever they have gone through and to see mom and dad getting along. To see that, like, Lily, I think, struggles with this. Like, I love Mom and I love Megan. Like, I can love both, you know, and not have to be conflicted co-parenting. You know, who do I love more? Who do I this, that, and the other? Like, it's just, you know, easier for all parties if you can make it easier.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I thought about this the other day, and I don't know why this popped in my brain. I think we had probably been Instagramming each other stupid stuff or something. And I was thinking about our relationship and our friendship, and I was like, I think something dawned on me. I think people can't get to where we are because they see that other person as so-and-so's ex, right? Like, you're Dan's ex, so we can't be friends. But, like, that's one label of you. That's not who you are. You know what I mean? So, like, to separate, like, that from who, like, we became friends because we have a lot in common, or, like, you know what I mean? Those kind of
like
things.
likes and interests.
Like, that's just one part of your life.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to try to, like, separate that from the person themselves.
That's
you know
a really
what I mean?
good point.
Like, I just feel like it's almost like if that's your only excuse for not liking someone, like, I need you to come up with a better. I need you to come up with a better excuse.
1,000%.
So, like you're also with that person now, so they must not have that bad of taste. Like,
true.
At the end of the day,
yes, true, exactly.
So, I just think that's something, and I think it's probably with maturity that comes. You know what I mean? When you're young, you're very emotional, and we've talked about that. But at the end of the day, like, that was one decision. They're not together anymore, and if that's the reason that you guys can't, I'm not saying you have to be BFFs. I'm not saying you have to hang out all the time. But if you can't sit and have a drink with them or eat lunch for your child, like, it won't kill you, and it could benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, start easy with, like, a lunch or a coffee place or something to where, like, the child can benefit from, like, best of both worlds type ordeal.
Yeah, and I think, like, we've talked about it before, but I think holidays kind of helped a transition too, because you want you want your child to be with mom and dad on such and such holiday.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, I think it was like a small holiday, Halloween or Father's Day or something like that we did together. So it's like something little, but it was like a transition point for us to all,
like, celebrate together.
Correct.
And, you know, who knows? You could be a bunch of minions walking around.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
make it fun.
Make it fun.
Know?
Have a whole family. I think, who did that? I think it was Rhea and
was it?
Tara and all
That's
of them.
funny.
I think they did like a
and
Pokemon.
They got
thing.
a whole bunch of
them.
them.
They got a brood.
Yeah.
A Pokemon. So, like, everyone was a Pokemon.
That's
kid.
hilarious.
It was cute, and I was like, ooh, fun.
That's fun. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, you know, start small, but then I really encourage you to just kind of work that way up and keep your child's happiness
above everything.
Above it all. You know, swallow some pride. You know, reach for maybe the other person doesn't converse as well as you may do. Reach for conversations. You know, just try your absolute best for your child. And I think you guys will exceed expectations.
I think sometimes if you just extend the hand too, like something little, like Mother's Day is coming up, like get your child, or
Mother's Day is coming up, people.
Yeah, like help. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be expensive, but like help your bonus kids or whoever make something for that other parent, and like it just extends a hand of saying like, hey, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
You know. So
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm putting that one at the bottom of our list.
So this is what the issue was. You were
I was
opposite
backwards.
of me. You were opposite of me. I was like worst to. No, maybe I was best.
You
to
were
worst.
best to worst, and I
You
was
were
worst to best.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna. So worst
is conflicted co-parenting.
Right above conflicted.
Parallel parenting.
Right above parallel. Cooperative.
Yeah. And then we're like at the very, very, very top of the list.
Tippity top.
Tippity top. Because we want you guys to be like us.
Exactly.
And, you know, live happily ever after.
And watch our podcast.
And like and subscribe and follow and share on all platforms now.
Well, and I think we've mentioned this many times, but I think it's a good reminder. Like we didn't go through conflicted, but we did transition through these different stages of co-parenting, like through learning each other, through growing, through just trials and tribulations.
Trial and error.
So I feel like it's normal. Like, don't feel like if you're in one of these, you're never going to get to that next level.
No.
Because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of dedication on both sides.
Yes.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like, no one knows what you're going through like that other person, your counterpart. And, you know, honestly, this is something that popped in my head earlier. Like, the parallel parenting having, like, you know, the two exes having to co-parent. Like, I think there is, like, you probably have feelings about your ex having a new significant other, right? But, like, that might be the key to, like, connecting the dots and, like, becoming cooperative versus parallel. You know what I mean? So be open to your ex-partner being happy too, because it could make your kid happy. It can make you happy.
All God's people are happy.
Exactly.
So we hope that you guys really enjoyed this episode. I'm sure it's maybe a little shorter than our other ones, but I think this was good, beneficial parenting information for anybody to have. And maybe as a small tribute, you can sit down with your ex-spouse and watch this episode and choose which one you guys are at and where you guys want to be.
Yeah, good idea. Set a goal.
Yeah, set a parenting goal. And we just hope that you guys are along for more fun, educational, light, airy stuff. May, we've got some fun stuff in store. I'm excited for that one because Mother's Day is coming up.
It's around the corner.
It's around the corner.
Is May Mother's Day and June's Father's Day? Yes. I think it is, right? Yeah.
So, y'all have a good rest of your April. We're hoping that the sun is shining, the grass is clean, the glass is clean. From Nemo.
Oh, okay.
But I was trying to spin that into like the sun is shining, the grass is green.
I don't know. The flowers are blooming.
So don't be mean.
There you go.
We'll see you guys later.
Peace out.
Bye.